Hello, my name is Pablo Toscano. This is a quick video presentation to my sushi commission calculator that I created on Excel for my HA408 class, my internship at RAW. What I wanted to do was really consolidate and organize a lot of the different functions that are required from management in order to get not only the sushi tips out to the sushi chefs, but in order to explain how and why they got the tips that they did. And I think this Excel sheet does just that. I really wanted to take away any of that user error, so in order to do that, I had to automate a lot of the functions. So anything to the right of this bold boundary here is going to be an automated function of sorts. So even if you try to enter stuff in here, it's not going to allow you to because I've locked out those functions. I leave the only functions allowable are going to be the ones that managers are allowed to edit. In this case, they would be entering the number of or the amount of tips that were given to the sushi bar. And it would be on a daily basis. So let's just say on Monday there was $89 given. Tuesday, 69, maybe like the same, $89. Oh, that's a huge day. I like that. Okay, $89. Maybe $100 on Wednesday. $120 on Thursday. We did very well on Friday. Saturday we even did better. Let's just say $210. And Sunday we get down to $160. So what this does here, it accumulates how much tips have been awarded for that week. That number there should match to what the in-house numbers are matching up to. If there isn't, then obviously you go back and you check those numbers. Same thing with the total hours. This output here can get put in via exportation of data through the software, the payroll software, or you could just go in and manually enter in the information here and just verify it at the end what you've paid out. In this case here, these intervals are split up so that if I took say a 5.5 hour shift, I took a break and I came back and I worked another 1.2 hours, it'll accumulate it accordingly and change it down in the matrix as well to represent those numbers correctly, especially the relationships that they have with the commission totals. Or you can just enter them in as single information. Let's just say it accumulated the information on the payroll side of it, so all you have to do is enter it in whole. You can do that as well. I left it very open because I don't know what type of input each restaurant has, but I made it very versatile so that you can at least choose 3 or 4 different types. Once all that information is put in, the job of the manager is pretty much done. That's pretty much it. They would just count the money, verify the amounts, and then verify the amounts of paid out hours that individual employee worked out throughout the week. Once those numbers are verified, everything else has been taken care of here. All the other information has been put in and represented accordingly. And as an insight, really quick, what I ended up doing for, say, a trainee who can work 8 hours on Monday, if you notice up here, the ratio is a little bit different. They didn't work 8 hours, they worked 4 hours. And I left out a whole number to really illustrate that they're only going to be getting paid 50% of those sushi commissions. I put 2 slots on there in case there's 2 trainees. Once those trainees, of course, are up to par with the sushi chefs, they'll be put into the matrix that, of course, gives them 100% of the total hours. I thought that's a very nice way of kind of dealing with that difference. A lot of different restaurants, they don't even tip that out or tip out trainees, and they end up leaving. So in this case, it's all about motivation. A lot of this is about organization as well, but the main purpose of my sushi commission calculator here is to indicate that transparency between what management has put in and what they're having to sign off on. Let me just show you here. If I go to print this out, you'll notice that all the working information here that I had on the left-hand side is not available. They don't have to have that. All I need as a printout, and I use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper because it's the most common, I just need them to verify what they worked and sign off indicating that they got that money on this sheet of paper. And also this on the right-hand side, on the right-hand side, what you have are these rundowns for each individual employee to what they received let me get out of this and show you here. It's a little bit clearer. And what you end up having is a rundown of what the descriptions are and how much you got paid, when you got paid, or I'm sorry, for what day you got paid, and what the total amount is. Management can even cut this out. If you notice, it was on the very right hand side of that paper. You can use scissors to cut it out and just simply staple this right to the sealed envelope where your commissions are, and that takes care of a lot of liability on management side as well as Raw's side. Again, for this side of it, what a sushi chef would do is see how much they worked, and they would see how much the sushi tips were for that day, and they'll remember how hard of a workload it was on that day. So take, for instance, on Wednesday, when we only had 3 sushi chefs, you notice that the commissions were a lot higher. They're going to be getting paid a lot more for their commissions because they worked harder. Their stresses were higher. So they'll start to see that transparency and that relationship between what they worked and what they received, and they'll actually start to be motivated to put in more of that effort because they see why it is requiring, or why it's required. And I think that's step number 1. Once you start to understand processes like this, it helps you be patient with why you might have a question about something, and it won't affect your work day. It'll just it'll be a question for you to come back and audit this, because all the information that you were required is going to be represented on these matrices. So there's no reason for you to have to go back, pull up more payroll information, unless you have some sort of discrepancy that you have to deal with. But other than that, most of the transaction factors are going to be located right here. And that, of course, saves time, and it gets our managers out on the floor where they should be and not doing HR/accounting/commission paperwork. But at the same time, it is a very important part of sushi tips and commissions and overall motivation for a sushi bar. So I wanted to make sure that each side was represented accordingly, and I think I did just that. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I wish you the best of luck and the best summer. Thank you very much.